Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday's Top Tips. Give me just one second here and we're going to get on with this. So thank you for joining me. If you're on the Zoom, thank you. If you're watching us live, we are live streaming both on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So thank you for joining us. So today I'm going to talk about Tuesday Top Tips. And this is where we're going to elevate how you help your clients and how you can grow your business the right way. And so today's tip is one that might even save you for your clients being able to open up opportunities so that you're not by accident maybe preventing them from getting their opportunities, such as a mortgage loan approval. And so the topic is how we can stop disputing everything, or why we should stop disputing everything. Just because something's negative doesn't mean it should be disputed, and what you can do instead. I'll also share a little bit, just so you guys know, I'm teaching a deep dive in this on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That is a paid class where you can jump in. It's a 2-hour class. I'll be teaching a deep dive on how to dispute correctly, what to be looking for when you're looking at a credit report, so that you're not just a credit repair organization where you're just disputing things to try to see what you can get off the credit report, but you're actually creating a process where you're strategically looking at that credit report and deciding what needs to be done based on that client's goal. So that's another important aspect when you're working with the client. You know, I see it all the time and I talk about it all the time. A lot of times we're focusing on the score improvement for the client, like, oh, we're going to help you improve your credit score 50 points, or you want 100 points. But that really shouldn't be the conversation. The conversation should be, what is your goal and how can I assist you in making that happen? And so disputing correctly is a great way to help a person get to their goal. And also sometimes if you're doing it the wrong way, you might be actually preventing them from getting to their goal. So the problem that I see is blanket disputes, disputing everything just because it's negative. Or, you know, I still see people copy and pasting dispute templates. Again, disputing everything because you want to maybe show activity to your client that you're doing something. Maybe your client's asking you to dispute certain things, and you have to be the educator of why you won't dispute or should not dispute something. And then not checking the credit report and looking for key aspects like last date of activity, last date reported. Is something settled and dormant, that's showing up with the balance on it, right? So things like that. So obviously, just disputing everything is not only ineffective, but it can backfire on you. So I want to tell you a little story about a client. A lady called me and she said, "Hey, Ali, I have a auto repo on my credit report, and I would like to know how much it would cost if you would dispute this for me, because I heard you're really good at disputing." And I said to her on the phone, I said, "Hey, listen, I don't know, because I don't even know if I would suggest a dispute for you." And she's like kind of taken aback. I said, "So what I would like to do is do my online consultation with you, in which I'll send you an email with a questionnaire. You'll fill out the questionnaire with your credit monitor credentials, and then I will review that." And I always review that, guys. And if you've taken my class on mastering online consultations, I review that over a video. So I'm videoing myself. I use Loom personally, and I'm going over her credit report. And I found that this auto repossession had not updated its reporting for 6 years. Okay. So if I were uninformed, and I would have just taken the deal because I was going to make money off of her to dispute this, then I may have disputed it. And if it did not come off through that dispute process, then I'm almost always going to have the last date of reporting updated, which would have dropped her credit score. So she was already like 750. She was doing really good. She had done some building of her credit, and I would have negatively impacted her credit. That's a hard conversation to say. If you're in that situation, you got someone who has one negative item, they pay you to dispute something because they think it's going to improve their credit, and you didn't make an informed decision and look at that credit report correctly. You dispute it and you drop their credit score because it wasn't removed. Now, I had a conversation with her in this video and I said, "Listen, there are some egregious errors in this reporting, in which case it is very likely I can get this removed from your credit report. But in the same respect, you need to understand that this is going to fall off your credit report here soon anyway. But it hasn't updated the reporting in 6 years. So what I could do," and she was in the process of getting a home loan, so she wanted the best score possible. I said, "What could happen in almost all cases, if it doesn't get removed, that last date of updated reporting is going to update, and now it's going to drop your score," right? And so in the mortgage world, especially on that mortgage credit report, anything that first 2 years is a negative is going to have a high impact to the credit score. And as it ages, it has less and less to do with the credit score, right? So when we're looking at 6 years out from the last date of reporting, It doesn't have a lot to do with her credit score. She just doesn't like the way it looks, right? So that's another educational piece where I could say, hey, doesn't have a lot to do with your credit score. You just don't like the way it looks. But guess what? It's going to be gone in another year. I think it was even less than a year. But then we looked at the other things, or I looked at the other things on a credit report, like credit cards. Like, what are her balances on credit cards? Does she have enough depth of credit? Things like that. So then I was able to inform her some things that she could do that would improve her credit score, which is what she was hoping for, to get that increase or that decrease in the interest rate on her home loan, right? So I just like to tell you that story because oftentimes people say, oh yeah, I'll do it. Pay me X amount of dollars and we'll dispute this account, when in fact it wasn't the right thing for her. So again, knowing her goals, having a conversation with her and saying, I can do this, but here's the downfall. You pick what you want to do instead of you making that decision for the consumer. I think it's really, really important. So that was one thing that I wanted to talk about. So another thing I wanted to talk about is that when we're looking at someone's credit report, I think it's really important to consider, are you helping or are you hurting? So are you helping that person or are you hurting, or possibly could you be hurting that person? And if you're not sure, don't do it, right? Make sure that you understand how to read the credit report, how to dispute correctly. There's a lot of things you can do other than disputes. As a loan officer, one of the things I often say, and a lot of the loan officer friends say, is no dispute ever got me a loan. And what we mean by that when we say that is that we can tell you some things to do to improve your credit profile so that you can purchase a home. That never has to do with disputes. So disputes, I think, are an essential part of the process, but you have to know how to do them. So my point of saying that is you could literally have a tool like Level Up Score and have an action plan and have them follow this action plan of the steps they need to do to improve their credit profile to reach their goal. Because, a Level Up Score is goal specific, right? And you wouldn't even have to do disputes necessarily, right? And so I think the point is that we want to make sure that we're looking at this and we're helping them towards their goal. Okay. And we shouldn't always make all the decisions. We can inform other people about our decisions, but we don't need to make all the decisions, right? So things to look for instead, we're going to be looking for balance updates after resolution. So if the client settled the debt and then later it updates with a new balance, an updated balance, that would be something we would want to dispute, right? That's an egregious error in the reporting. It can also possibly be an FCRA violation. So that's something we can be looking at for the client as well. So we're looking for, is it settled in a paid collection that shows a new balance, right? And this is where documentation from your clients really important. So having those conversations with them, like, hey, did you settled it? You paid it? Okay. Do you have documentation to show that you did that? Right. So all those pieces could be very helpful, because if you're disputing that and it doesn't get resolved, you can always change this into like a litigation case, right, to help the consumer. So example is you have a $2,000 collection. It's marked with a 0. You're doing disputes and then it's reported back that the balance is now 2,000. That happens sometimes where it drops the credit score because you did dispute because you wanted to get the entire trade line off the credit report because the person settled it, right? So you're like, okay, you settled it, 0 balance. I can probably get it off your credit report. And then you try it and then it updates that there's a balance. So that sometimes errors like that can happen in part of your dispute process. You have to be careful about that too. Looking for incorrect or missing date of last activity. That's really important. So we're looking for that. So we're looking to make sure that last date of activity actually matches the last payment date. And so that's another conversation a lot of times you'll have to have with your consumer. But why it matters, a FOST DLA, last date of activity, can extend the negative reporting. So we want to make sure that's correct. So for example, if we have a charge off from 2018 showing a last date of activity of 2024, that could be a sign of re-aging. So we need to be alert of that. And again, that could be an FCRA violation as well, so that we can look at for our dispute process. Collections with questionable chain of title, something you should be looking for. So if you're looking for multiple collections of the same amount, why this matters is because agencies might not have the legal right to report or to collect on behalf of the original creditor. So you want to have that documentation of chain of title. So example, original creditor has a debt, 2 collection companies are reporting 1 account that's the same, and that's likely a violation. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but you'll have you'll have original creditor charged off, sold to another lender, and you have two different lenders reporting the same debt. Obviously, that would be an FCRA violation, but also, again, something to be looking for, there's obviously a questionable chain of title who actually has the right to collect and report. Okay. Looking for, again, re-aging of debt. We talked about that a second ago about looking at that date of last activity, because looking at that, there could be re-aging, which is illegal, and it is an FCRA violation, so something else that you can look at. And then, of course, duplicate or incomplete trade lines. So duplicate entries, obviously, we talked about that, having two collections that are the same. And that happens often, especially with medical debts. Missing data, like there's no open date, no high credit limit, no terms. So why this matters, if you guys don't know, it actually can be a process that can confuse the underwriting team when doing a mortgage loan file. So if there's duplicate reportings of something, or there's missing information, or the terms aren't there, that can cause the DTI for the consumer to be miscalculated and could cost them their loan. So this is something you can be helping with, and helping even the loan officer and the client be able to have higher loan values or loan amounts, because you had done your homework and made sure that things like duplicate entries and stuff are corrected on the credit report. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. On Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we will deep dive into this. We're going to look specifically at credit reports, what things to look at so that you can dispute correctly. I'm also going to give you my game plan and my framework on how I dispute that is very effective. We talked about this last week with Ashley Dill on the Tuesday Top Tips about student loans. So we're going to dive into that again, but also in general on all the different disputes that you might encounter on a credit report. I'm happy you're here today. Thank you. Please leave a comment. I do have a worksheet that I would be happy to give out to you of how I look at a credit report and what I write down to make sure that I'm effectively disputing. And this is something I would give to my clients to let them know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so they know that it's very transparent and they know what we're doing, and they can make informed decision for themselves. So if you'd like that worksheet, just comment in the comments of this live event, and I will send you that worksheet. Just make sure you comment and make sure I know what your email address is. Okay. I appreciate you all. Have a fabulous day. I know, Brandon, you're here on the live with me on Zoom. So if you would like, you're more than welcome to unmute and ask any questions before I jump off. All right.
Hi, Alicia. Yeah,
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
good. Do you have like that? You mentioned a questionnaire to like give out to clients. Do you happen to have like a PDF or something that I can get that so I can send out to clients?
If I heard your question right, yeah, I have like a worksheet that has like, here's the things I'm looking for on a credit report. Here's some questions I might ask the consumer. Here's some documents I might ask the consumer for if I find these things to help, make my case, right? Because the idea is to get the negative off the credit report. So I'll send it to you, Brandon, obviously. And then anybody else who wants that, if you just put a comment in this live event, I will send that to you. But absolutely. So again, you want to make sure that when you start to do a dispute letter that you're asking, is it factual and accurate? Can the client provide documentation to support it? And will this help the client get closer to their goal? And I think that's the number one thing. Will what I'm doing and everything I'm doing help the client get closer to their goal, not your goal, their goal? And hopefully that makes sense. But I appreciate you all. Brandon, thank you for being on the Zoom with me today. And if you guys have any questions, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time is our live Zoom class, and it will be a 2-hour class to really deep diving into all this material. I appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful day.